Oh, okay, okay. That's fine. Okay. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, it got live streamed actually.
प्रभो नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय राधा माधव राधा माधव जय राधा माधव जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 Nitai Gaur Haribol 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 Jang Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtatara Srimat Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Beauty Founder Charges Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jang Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtatara Srimat Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की श्री गौर निताय की श्री लक्ष्मी सिंह भगवान की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की समवेत गौर भक्त बिंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories all glories all glories to Guru and Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स पदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादं सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्नाय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरतिष्ये नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanang Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasang Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nasta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So we'll be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25. Chapter is entitled The Descriptions of the Characteristics of King Puranjana. So we'll read the verse number 1. Maitreya Vacha Iti Sandishya Bhagavan Bari Sader Obhipujitaha Pasyatam Rajaputranam Tatra Eva Antardadhe Haraha. Maitreya Vacha Iti Sandishya Bhagavan Vari Sader Abhipujitaha Pasyatam Rajaputranam Tatraiva Antardadhiharaha. Maitreya Vacha. The great sage Maitreya continued to speak. Iti Das. Sandisha, giving instruction. Bhagavan, the most powerful Lord. Varihi Sadai, by the sons of King Varisat. Abhipujita, being worshipped. Pastatam, while they were looking on. Rajaputranam, the sons of the king. Tatra, there. Eva, certainly. Antardadhe, became invisible. Haraha, Lord Shiva. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued speaking to Vidura. My dear Vidura, in this way Lord Shiva instructed the sons of King Varisat. The sons of the king also worship Lord Shiva with great devotion and respect. Finally, Lord Shiva became invisible to the princess. Purport. This chapter contains a great lesson concerning the monarchical kingdom in the days of yore. When King Varisat was considering retiring from the royal duties, he sent his sons to perform austerities in order to become perfect kings for the welfare of the citizens. At the same time, King Varisat was being instructed by the great sage Narada about the material world and the living entity who wants to enjoy it. It is therefore very clear how the kings and the princes are trained to take charge of a kingdom. Welfare activities for the benefit of the citizens were aimed at understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The human form of life is specially meant for understanding God, our relationship with Him, and our activities in His service. Because the kings took charge of the spiritual education of the citizens, both the king and the citizens were happy in Krishna consciousness. In this regard, we should remember that the monarchical hierarchy of Prachina Varisat comes from Maharaj Dhruva, a great devotee of the Lord and the most celebrated disciple of Narada Muni. King Prachina Varisat was then too much engaged in fruitive activities due to performing different types of yajnas. One can actually be promoted to higher planetary systems or to the heavenly kingdoms by performing various yajnas. But there is no question of liberation or going back home, back to Godhead. When the great sage Narada saw that a descendant of Maharaj Dhruva was being misled by fruitive activities, Narada took compassion upon him and personally came to instruct him about the ultimate benediction of life, Bhakti Yoga. How Narada Muni indirectly introduced the Bhakti Yoga system to King Prachina Varisat is very interestingly described in this 25th chapter. Mukam karati vachalam pangul langhaite gring Jatkripa tamham vande Sri Gurudinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So today we are beginning a new chapter, very interesting chapter, the allegorical story of King Puranjana. That story relates to all of us who wants to enjoy in this material world. So Narad Muni will be preaching to King Prachina Varisat in an indirect way, very interesting way, because he is a king and the preachers are very expert how to present the same philosophy, but in a way which is understandable to the audience. So here, the chapter is beginning with the concept that Lord Shiva instructed the Prachitas, the sons of Prachina Varisha. And what they are doing, that will be explained in the next verse. And they are doing austerities. What kind of austerities? Standing in the water. For how many years? 10,000 years. 10,000 years. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that this episode is from Satyajuga, and that time people used to live for 100,000 years. And they used to do austerity for a considerable amount of time. Because austerity is the purpose of human form of life. Tapo Divyam Putraka. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. When Rishabdev was instructing to his sons, he also told that the purpose of human form of life is to do tapasya, austerity. Here also we are seeing by the instruction of Lord Shiva, the Prachetas are also doing austerity. Why they are doing austerity? So that they can become perfect kings. In order to do anything perfectly, nicely, we have to do austerity. So if we want to become perfect devotees, we have to do austerity. Because anything wonderful we want to do in this world, we have to do austerities. And we have seen any successful man in this world, in any field, become successful not by enjoying life. Successful man, what they do, they lead a life of austerity. Because austerity has long-lasting result. Bhagavad Gita explains Priya and Shreya. Priya means you can get it very easily and also goes away very easily. But Shreya is very difficult to attain, takes time, but it stays long term. So austerity is very, very important. So what kind of austerity depends on the situation. But principle of austerity is the same. Six Goswamis, they did lot of austerity. Lot of austerity they did. Dhruva Maharaj, here Prachetas, they are coming in the line of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj also was performing very severe austerity. Not even drinking, not even also breathing. Everything was stopped. But to talk about eating. Eating was stopped, drinking was stopped, breathing was stopped, everything was stopped. The whole universe became choked up by the austerity of Dhruva Maharaj. The demigods were in anxiety. And they said, if the austerity continues, then everybody will die. Because austerity has too much potency. Everything was controlled by the austerity of Dhruva Maharaj. And in 6 months' time, Lord Narayan appeared in front of Dhruva Maharaj face to face. That is the power of austerity. When Brahma was born from Garbhodakshay Vishnu, from his navel, so one lotus was also sprout. And the stem of the lotus, the Brahma was coming up and down, coming up and down. He was not able to understand what to do, confused. Who am I? Then he heard a sound. Tapa, tapa. Tapa means austerity. Perform austerity. So we are in ignorance. Material world is the world of ignorance. We are all covered over. That's why you are not able to understand who are we, what we are doing here. We don't have any purpose. Because those who are in mode of ignorance cannot understand the purpose. Who can understand the purpose of life? Those who are in the mode of goodness. So purpose of austerity is to purify our modes from tamaguna to rajaguna to sattva-guna, then become Shuddha Sattva, Vasudeva platform. Because spiritual world is very pure. It is beyond three modes. It is transcendental to material modes of nature. So there, Hare Krishna. So there is coming up and down. Back and Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Rudragitam Bhagavata Statram Sarve Prachetashaha Japantaste Taposte Pur Varshanam Ayatam Jale. Sound is okay. Translation. All the Pracheta princes simply stood in the water for 10,000 years and recited the prayers given to them by Lord Shiva. So Prachetas, what they are doing? They are doing austerities. They are reciting Rudragitam and also standing in the water for 10,000 years. So Prabhupada is writing the purport. Of course, in the modern age, one may be amazed how the princes could stand in the water for 10,000 years. They are princes, they are not ordinary people. They are grown up in a very aristocratic way. It's not that they are grown up in a very austere way, so what is the big deal? They are grown up in a very aristocratic way, comfortable way. But they are standing in the water. However, living within air or living within water is the same process. One simply has to learn how to do it. You should know the technique. By technique, you can do anything. The aquatics live within the water for their whole lifespan. How do they do? For us, very difficult to stay for some time inside the water, right? Breathing suffocation will happen. But for the aquatics, they enjoy in the water because their body is made like that. Certain favorable conditions are created to enable them to live within the water. In those days, however, people used to live for 100,000 years. Out of so many years, if one could spare 10,000 years for the sake of austerity, he would be assured of success in his future life. This was not very astonishing, although such a feat is impossible in this age. It was quite possible in Satyajuga. The principle of austerity continues to exist, but what kind of austerity? That changes. Details change according to time, place, or circumstances, but the principle remains the same. What is the principle? Principle is that we should do austerity. That does not change. For Kali Yuga, no austerity. That is not the principle. Spiritual life, any life, austerity is must. But what kind of austerity? Depending on the time, place, and circumstances. So in Kali Yuga, Raghunath Das Goswami also performed severe austerities. He was fasting for 2-3 days and used to drink a cup of buttermilk, not sleeping, almost not sleeping. That was the level of austerity he was doing. But we cannot do that. Prabhupada said it's not possible for us to do it. So what is austerity for Kali Yuga people? Follow for regulative principles. That is also austerity. What is the condition of Kali Yuga? Following for regulative principle is also an austerity. It's very difficult to follow for regulative principles, right? When Prabhupada went to the West, Prabhupada said these 4 regulative principles: no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, no illicit sex. Somebody revealed to Prabhupada, then what should we do? What is our activity then? For them, activities mean these 4 activities, breaking all regulative principles. But if they don't do this, then what they're going to do? There should be some activity. So, Kali Yuga, very difficult to do austerity. Following 4 regulative principles is also a big austerity. And we think that by following four regulative principles, we'll come back to Godhead. And Prabhupada said following four regulative principles is a qualification for a civilized human being. It's a beginning. But that is also difficult. Prabhupada says getting up early in the morning. Early means by 4 o'clock maximum. That is early. Brahma Muhurta. Because if we don't get up in Brahma Muhurta, we cannot see Param Brahma. Unless you see Brahma Muhurta, we cannot see Param Brahma. Okay? So getting up early in the morning is very important thing. That is also austerity. And any successful man also, they get up early in the morning. Those who are good students study in the morning. Those who are athletes, they also practice in the morning. Those who are players, soccer players, cricketers, they also practice in the morning. Right? So those who are good singers, they practice during the morning hours. Those who are good Mridanga players, they practice during morning hours. Morning, if you do, things are very good. And I heard some scientists said that Brahma Muhurta, so many mysterious things happen. If someone can get up during that time and experience that mysterious activities. So getting up early in the morning is also an austerity. And Prabhupada says, taking bath, cold bath in winter is austerity. And cooking in summer is austerity. Taking only prasad is an austerity. Right or wrong? So in that way, Prabhupada has given some austerities according to fasting on Ekadasi, fasting on Janmashtami, fasting on Vishnu Avirbhav. These are different kinds of austerities given in Shastra for us in Kali Yuga. We should do that. Why? Austerities help us to control our senses and purify our existence. Prachina Varisham Chatya Karmasu Ashakta Manasam Narada Adhatma Tattagya Kripalu Kripalu Pratyabodhayat. While the princes were undergoing severe austerities in the water, their father was performing different types of fruitive activities. At this time, the great Saint Narada, master and teacher of all spiritual life, became very compassionate upon the king and decided to instruct him about spiritual life. So while the Prachetas were performing austerities, the king, Prachina Varishat, was doing fruitive activities. And Prachina Varishat is coming in the line of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was a devotee, a great devotee, perfect devotee of the Lord. And who was his spiritual master? Narad Muni. Narad Muni is a very celebrity spiritual master. He has made so many devotees, no? Wonderful devotees. Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, who else? Valmiki Muni. What else? Who else? Mrigari. Huh? Who else? All the kings, most of the kings. So Narad Muni made them devotees. So why Daksha cursed Narada? First, how many sons was there? 10,000. Then next time, 1,000. So in one lecture, 10,000 brahmachari. The purpose was to create progeny. That was the purpose of their creation by Daksha. Then Narad Muni went and gave a brahmachari class. And in one lecture, 10,000. One time program was enough. There was no need of succession and these other courses, camp, no, nothing was needed. In one lecture, everybody joined full time as full time celibate. But what was the reciprocation from Daksha? He got the curse. And Srila Prabhupada said that is the parampara. If you make people full time, you will get curse. That's happening. So that is the power of Narad Muni. So here also Narad Muni is feeling compassionate. Why? As pointed at, Prabhupada writes in the purport, as pointed out by Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, Kaivalya, or marching into the Brahman effulgence, is just like going to hell. He similarly states that elevation to the upper planetary system for the enjoyment of heavenly life is just so much phantasmagoria. This means that the devotee does not give any importance to the ultimate goal of the karmis and gyanis. The ultimate goal of the karmis is promotion to the heavenly kingdom, and the ultimate goal of the gyanis is merging into the Brahman effulgence. Of course, the gyanis are superior to the karmis as confirmed by Lord Chaitanya. Koti karma nishtha madhye eko gyani srashta. One gyani or impersonalist is better than many thousands of fruitive actors. Therefore, a devotee never enters upon the path of karma or elevation by fruitive activities. Narad Muni took compassion upon King Prachina Barishat when he saw the king engaged in fruitive activity. In comparison to mundane workers, those who are trying to be elevated to the higher planetary systems by performing yajnas are undoubtedly superior. In pure devotional service, however, both karma and jnana are considered bewildering features of illusory energy. So, bhakti should be uncovered. Bhakti should not be covered over by karma and jnana. What is the meaning of Shuddha Bhakti? Anna vilasita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyana krishna anusilanam bhaktiruttam. Anya vilasita shunyam. Bhakti should be free from any ulterior motive. So what is ulterior motive? Please tell. What is ulterior motive? Any other desire? Huh? Any desire other than the desire to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Anna Vilasita. Anna Vilas. If we do any activity, if the purpose is not to please the Lord, that is not bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti. So Shuddha Bhakti, the first qualification is that motive. The motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If that motive is not there, it's not Shuddha Bhakti. It can be chanting, hearing, anything you do. But if the motive is something else, then it is not Shuddha Bhakti. The process is Shuddha, but practitioner is not Shuddha. That's why it disqualifies one to enter into Shuddha Bhakti. Okay. Then it is not said Jnana Karma di Sunyam. It is said Jnana Karma di Anavritam. It is highly recommended that it should be Jnana Karma di Sunyam, but we are in this material world, some activities can be performed. Here karma means what kind of karma? Nitya karma, naimitiki karma. These two kinds of karma. And there are other kinds of karma also. You know that? Kamma karma, Nisiddha karma, Prayaschitta karma. What is Kamma karma? To do some activities to get some material benefit. Just like Putra Kameshti Yajna. You perform the yajna, why? The purpose is to get a son. So in that there are so many yajnas are recommended in Vedas to get some material benefit. That is called Kamma karma. And what is Nisiddha karma? Nisiddha karma is Papa karma, prohibited activities. And what is Prayaschitta? Activity to counteract any sinful activity. These three are not included here. Why? Because bhakti means without any kam. So kamma karma is excluded. Nisiddha karma, a devotee is not supposed to do any sinful activities. So Nisiddha karma is excluded. So there is no question of Prayaschitta also. So what remains? Only two. Nitya karma and Naimittika karma. What is Nitya karma? Which is done every day. Which is done every day. Just like Sandha Vandanam for the Brahmanas. So there is different varna has different Nitya karma. And there is also Naimittika karma. Different kinds of purificatory activities, which is known as sanskaras. These are known as Naimittika karma. But that can be done, but not for the purpose of getting the result of that karma. Just to do it out of duty, to set example as a leader. And while you are performing it, you should always remember Krishna. Then you are within the definition of Suddha Bhakti. Then you are not Abritam, you are Anabritam. Okay, clear? This is very, very interesting explanation given by our acharyas on the definition of Suddha Bhakti. So, but here, Prachetas are doing austerity, and their father is performing fruitive activity to enjoy life. So Narad Muni felt very compassionate, and he wanted to help. Why he wanted to help? Because by nature, pure devotees are very compassionate. And also, he is in the line of Dhruva Maharaj. So when we are connected with some Suddha Bhakta, then compassion flows. So therefore, we have to be connected with Guru Parampara. Then what will happen? We will also attract the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through some representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 4. Shreyastang katamadrajan karmana atmana ihase dukkha hani sukha vapti shreyastan chestate. Translation. Narad Muni asked King Prachina Varishat, my dear king, what do you desire to achieve by performing these fruitive activities? The chief aim of life is to get rid of all miseries and enjoy happiness. But these two things cannot be realized by fruitive activity. In this material world, there is a great illusion which covers real intelligence. A man in the mode of passion wants to work very hard to derive some benefit, but he does not know that time will never allow him to enjoy anything permanently. Compared with the work one expends, the gain is not so profitable. Even if it is profitable, it is not without its distresses. If a man is not born rich and he wants to purchase a house, cars, and other material things, he has to work hard day and night for many years in order to possess them. Thus, happiness is not attained without undergoing some distress. Actually, pure happiness cannot be had within this material world. If we wish to enjoy something, we must suffer for something else. On the whole, suffering is the nature of this material world. And whatever enjoyment we are trying to achieve is simply illusion. After all, we have to suffer the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. We may discover many fine medicines, but it is not possible to stop the suffering of disease and death. Actually, medicine is not the counteracting agent for either disease or death. On the whole, there is no happiness in this material world. But an illusion person works very hard for so-called happiness. Indeed, this process of working hard is actually taken for happiness. This is called illusion. Therefore, Narad Muni asked King Prachina Varisat what he desired to attain by performing so many costly sacrifices. Even if one attains the heavenly planet, he cannot avoid the distresses of birth, old age, disease, and death. Someone may argue that even devotees have to undergo many distresses in executing austerities and penances connected with devotional service. Of course, for the neophytes, the routine of devotional service may be very painful, but at least they have the hope that they will ultimately be able to avoid all kinds of distresses and achieve the highest perfectional stage of happiness. For the common karmis, there is no such hope because even if they are promoted to the highest planetary system, they are not guaranteed freedom from the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Even Lord Brahma, who is situated in the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, has to die. Lord Brahma's birth and death may be different from an ordinary man's, but within this material world, he cannot avoid distresses of birth, old age, disease, and death. If one is at all serious about attaining liberation from these miseries, he must take to devotional service. This is confirmed by Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. Jarma karma chame divyam evang javetti tattataha tekta deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, Arjuna. Thus, after attaining full Krishna consciousness, the devotee does not return to this material world after death. He goes back home, back to Godhead. That is the perfect stage of happiness, unblemished by any trace of distress. So this verse and purport talks about happiness and distress. This world is the world of distress. Who has confirmed that? Krishna himself. He says in Bhagavad Gita, this world is the world of dukkha, miseries, distress, suffering. Why? Why is that? That is the reason. But why you are into this material world? But why this material world is full of distress? That is not the question I'm asking. I'm asking why this world is world of miseries. What is the cause? Huh? Bole? Why this world is the world of suffering? That's okay, but why? Because this world has an inherent flaw. What is that flaw? It is temporary. That is the concept. Why it gives suffering? Because it's temporary. Eternity gives bliss, and temporary things gives miseries. Everything is temporary. Flash of a moment, everything is gone. Now gone. This moment gone. This moment gone. This is the power of time in this material world. Nobody can control it. Nobody can control it. That's why how we can be happy here. Anytime we will be gone. How we can be happy? But still, the most interesting thing in this world is that people don't understand that they'll be gone. Yudhishthir Maharaj was asked, what is the most surprising thing? Right? What is the most surprising thing? Everybody is dying, but others are thinking, I will not die. Very interesting. Because if someone goes into that, then he will not do. He said, Prabhuji, that is negative consciousness. How can I act if I always think, I will die, I will die? This is not a motivational philosophy. Something has to keep on doing. Something has to keep us moving. That's why you should forget death. By forgetting death, we can escape death. Sometimes people want to forget miseries. That's why they drink. Right? Why they drink? Because they want to forget the miseries. But by forgetting miseries, misery will disappear. They will never disappear. Because that is the integral part of this material world. Some people commit suicide thinking that miseries will go away. No. Misery from this body, you are thinking this body is miserable, then you are entering into more miserable condition. Misery is magnified by committing suicide. It's not nullified. But people think like that. No existence, no body. Body is the cause of suffering. That's why you have to give up body. That is another illusion. So you cannot escape. How you can escape? The process is to accept the process of devotional service. Act on the platform, which is our natural constitutional position. Then we can escape this miserable condition of material world. And that is the purpose. Krishna comes into this material world. That's why he sends his representative to remind the forgetful living entities about the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to escape from this miserable material world and enter into the kingdom of God, where there is no misery. Why there is no misery in the spiritual world? There is nothing is temporary, everything is eternal. Right? So those who are intelligent, they aspire for something which will be eternal. So Narad Muni is trying to help King Prachina Varishad to remind him that what is the purpose of human form of life. And because he is in a high position, direct preaching may not work. That's why he will take help of an allegorical story to narrate the nature of this material world, and he will be realized. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Question? Any question? Comment? Yes. Misery is also temporary. The experience of misery is temporary. No, what is happiness? Happiness is when miseries are reduced, we feel happy. Example is given just like in the early days, age of yore, Prabhupada is the word, that king used to punish the criminals by putting them into the water. So when you are in water, what will you do? You'll suffer, choked up. And when you are almost in the condition of dying, you'll be taken out of the water. And how it will feel? Wow, happiness. So happiness in this material world is like that. Okay. When the sufferings are reduced to a great extent, you cannot say absence, but it's very less suffering, then we feel we are very happy. It's a relative truth. Actually, everything is suffering. This world is the world of suffering. That is temporary, but temporarily permanent. It will always exist. Wherever we are, it will exist only. Okay. Any question from online?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. And this is Sankarshan Priyadas. Thank you very much for very nice class, Prabhuji. I have one doubt, Prabhu. With respect to, in this sloka, I think you were describing material world is illusion. In some places, we also hear that it is temporary. How to understand this difference, Prabhuji? Somewhere it's called, Prabhupada call it as illusion, somewhere it is temporary. Mayavadis also they call this material world is illusion. How to differentiate the difference?
It is not false. It is temporary. What is the meaning? What is the difference between false and temporary? There is some concept that this material world is false. Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. But Vaishnava philosophy is that this material world is not mithya, it's not false, it is temporary. Just like we always experience dream. Dream is not false, but it is temporary. As soon as we wake up, dream is gone. That's why it's temporary. Then why it is illusion? Why it is illusion? Thinking that temporary thing is permanent, that is illusion. People think that, oh, that dream is permanent. That dream is real. Thinking the temporary, unreal thing as real, that is called illusion. Tree and its shadow. Shadow is also real. Tree is also real. But thinking the shadow tree as real tree, that is illusion. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. That clears my doubt, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Any other question from online?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Related to austerity, you were talking about importance of austerity. As a conditioned soul, we try to do austerity, but always get bogged down by our anarthas and our shortcomings. How to develop the strength and some practical tips? Can you share some light on this?
Strength comes from association. If you associate with people, those who are very, very austere, you will feel inspiration to be austere. If you are associating with those who are not so sincere and austere, then you will also develop that kind of mood. So it all depends on association. Sadhu Sangha. So inspiration to become sincere and serious in devotional service depends on our association. So quality association is the key. Okay.
Thank you, Krishna.
Anything else from there? Otherwise, we have some question here on site. Boli. Naimittika. Depends why you are doing it. It's not the activity, the purpose behind the activity. If you are remembering Krishna and doing it as a purpose of duty, then it's not covered. But you are attached to that, that is the goal of life, and then you are covered. Okay. You should think it's helping your devotion, then it's okay. But if you think that is bhakti, then you're gone. That will help us to become. No. Sanskaras are very important to help Because some sanskaras are helping us to become more Krishna conscious. That the helping. There's sanskaras are, there are 16, there are 64 sanskaras mentioned in Shastra. So those sanskaras are an integral part of our Varnashram Dharma. So that help us to become Krishna conscious. If someone is born through Garbhadan Sanskar, so that birth will be high quality birth. So it helps us to become Krishna conscious. It doesn't mean that this is the bhakti, this is a anga of sadhana bhakti. It's not anga of sadhana bhakti, but it helps us to perform sadhana bhakti properly. That's why it is not included in the list of sadhana bhakti. At the same time, it is not excluded from pure devotional service. So we have to understand Shuddha Bhakti in a broader aspect.
Please kindly repeat the question for the benefit of online audience.
Okay. For mic, you should use mic. Okay. Question was the sanskaras. Some people think that is unfavorable for devotional service. But sanskaras are not unfavorable. I answered the question like that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Difficulties help us to purify. So difficulties, how it helps to purify? Because when we are in difficulty, tendency is to remember Krishna. And that will purify. Because purification takes place when you remember Krishna. So when you have a comfortable life, tendency is to forget Krishna. But when you are in difficulty, tendency is to remember Krishna. And Krishna wants us to remember him. That's why devotees are put into difficulty, so that they can remember more and more. And when you're in a difficulty, detachment comes. जब लात खाते हैं डिटैचमेंट आता है ना, तो कुछ अच्छा मिलता है, अटैचमेंट आ जाता है. वो बहुत अच्छा है, very good. One person came and challenged one sannyasi that why you are talking like this, dukkhalayam, dukkhalayam, I don't have any dukkha. Everything is wonderful, rosy, cozy, beautiful. So this verse of Bhagavad Gita is wrong, does not apply to everyone. So that Maharaj blessed him that you should experience some experience this verse in your life. And after that, he went through so much tribulations and trouble in his life. He became self-realized and surrendered his life to Krishna. So maybe something is good going on now, doesn't mean that is permanent. The nature of this world is not going to change. That is going to be, and that is going to be the same, irrespective of our condition of life. The nature of this world will remain unchanged. That is eternal. Okay. Nature of this material world, the temporary nature of the material world is eternal. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, one question in the chat window.
Okay, chat window.
My Malini Mataji, regarding the association, doesn't the act of choosing the right association make one judgmental? Who am I to judge others?
Judge, okay. But you should not live in ignorance. That's why you have to have knowledge. So knowledge helps us to discriminate. Intelligence helps us to discriminate. If you don't have knowledge, then you cannot discriminate. Then what is good, you'll think that is bad. If what is bad, you think that is good. then you will be lost. So sentimentalism and spiritualism is different. Prabhupada says religion without knowledge is sentimentalism, and knowledge without religion is speculation. So we cannot be speculators and we cannot be sentimental to understand God. So therefore, spiritual life should have spiritual knowledge. And Shastra says what is good association, what is bad association, who is Kanishta Vaishnava, who is Madhyam Vaishnava, who is Uttama Vaishnava. If you don't have all this knowledge, then you are acting on a sentimental platform. Hare Krishna. Is that okay?
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you please respond?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
We should not become judgmental, but at the same time, we should not be sentimental. Okay.
Prabhuji, sometimes it becomes habitual. I mean,
Attitude should be, we should know the truth and act on that truth. We have nothing to do with judgment. We have nothing to do with sentiment. We have to act on devotion. And devotional principles are given by our acharyas from Shastra. We should know these principles and apply those principles in our life to move forward in our journey to the spiritual kingdom. Okay?
yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So we should not be neither judgmental nor sentimental. So we should take a balanced path. Hare Krishna. Complete for today. We'll continue our journey tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande.